Navigating the realities of empires, it's been a constant reality for God's people. And there may be a tendency within us to deny this is true in our time for our church, to downplay our active or passive participation in systems of oppression and force. But one of my favorite all-time movies, The Usual Suspects, reminds us the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. So, rather than downplaying and sidestepping a challenging message like the one we've heard today, how can we instead embrace the challenge to take arms against the empire? How can we rise up to our moment with a determination to be among those who are working to reverse the patterns and stand up for the oppressed? What does it look like to join God in the renewal of all things amidst the broken systems that we live in? Well, for starters, as a church community, we can look to our postures for some direction. Our postures help paint a picture for what it looks like to be a part of God's redemptive work in the world. They help position us so that we can play our part. So at Lakeview Church, we embrace a forward-leaning posture, anticipating God's movements. We understand that our world faces challenges that must be thoughtfully navigated and negotiated. We are prepared to risk our comfort and security to help transform evil into good. Sounds pretty good, right? So what practice can help us embody a forward posture as we navigate issues of empire in our world? Well, this week, you are invited to practice defiance. Defiance is the intentional act of resisting evil in all its forms. It's a practice that acknowledges that things are not the way they're supposed to be. Yes, there are all kinds of signs of beauty and life and goodness in the world, but not all things are as they should be. There are systems of our society that are out of sync with God's intentions for the world. And there are areas in our own lives that are out of sync as well. Defiance is a way that we can respond redemptively to the wrongs in our world. So what does this look like? Well, I have a few invitations for you to consider this week. To start with, I invite you to be on the lookout for the issues of empire that were highlighted from Habakkuk this morning. And we've put a little worksheet together that you can download. But basically, over the course of the next week, I want to invite you to start paying attention with a little holy curiosity. Ask the Spirit to help you notice areas of society that may have been disrupted by the ways of evil, and simply write them down. Maybe when you grab a banana for breakfast, you'll take a moment and consider, I wonder what the working conditions are like on the farm where this came from. And just write that down. Maybe when you're scrolling through your Instagram feed late at night, you'll wonder, how much of my time and attention am I giving to this? Write that down. Maybe you'll drive past the lighthouse when you're downtown and you'll wonder, what kind of challenges those people have faced that I have never had to worry about? Write that down. Try to live this week with your eyes wide open, paying attention with a little holy curiosity. And then I invite you to set aside some time to sit with the things you've noticed and simply invite the Spirit to fill your mind with imagination for a better way. And listen, we're not going to flip the empire on its head overnight. But with the Spirit's help, we can start chipping away at the stronghold that the empire has on our world. You see, defiance begins with a holy curiosity, and it leads to holy disruption. Maybe we will change the way we spend our money. Maybe we will think twice about the companies we support. Maybe we will reconsider how much of our money we spend on ourselves versus how much we share with others. Maybe we'll change the way we spend our time. Maybe we will rethink how much hustle we're putting into all of our kids' activities rather than our presence among our neighbors. Maybe we'll just adjust the TV shows we watch or the podcast we listen to. Maybe we'll get inspired to learn more about the realities of life for people around the world or around the corner in our own city. The possibilities are endless, but they will simply remain possibilities unless we are willing to enter in. So I invite you to practice a little defiance this week on your own. And I also invite you to practice defiance with others. Consider gathering with friends and family from our church community for the purpose of exploring these hard conversations together. This can happen as a part of a home church, or you can simply invite people over to yard for hard talks around a fire. Our efforts of defiance are multiplied when we commit to doing this together in community. When we are willing to courageously name issues in society together, we make room for the Spirit to inspire a communal response. And this is best done with intentionality. Don't simply invite friends over for a fire and expect you're going to press into these issues together. You might, but it's more likely to happen if you're clear why you're gathering. Take time, pray, and ask the Spirit to bring to mind issues of injustice and evil in the world. Take time to name hard things. Wrestle with what you see in the world, and wrestle with the ways that you might be complicit in systems of injustice. But don't simply name the hard things. Ask the Spirit to give you a holy imagination for how you can all do things differently. Inspire one another with ideas for how things can be different in the world. Imagine a better world and find ways to commit working towards that vision. Make defiance a collective effort. Join arms with a few friends and become a little expression of the counter-empire together. Now, can I just add that if this sounds at all overwhelming, keep in mind, this is already happening. People in our church are already swimming in these waters. Many of you have already found creative ways to go against the flow of society, and you are already doing your part to chip away at the empire. I think of people like Dave Langell, who fixes cars for all kinds of people who really need it, and he charges way less money than he could because it's his way of being generous. I think of all the parents I know who are pushing against the expectations for every 10-year-old to have their own iPhone. I think of my own wife, Tara, who's inspired many in our church community to take seriously the matters of truth and reconciliation with our Indigenous neighbors. I think of the many young adults who choose to give up their Friday evenings to serve the youth in our church. I think of Melissa Riston, who has opened up her home to become a safe place for foster children to be loved and known. I think of those who've decided not to make their purchases on Amazon because they believe in supporting the businesses in their neighborhood. I think of Aiden Mari, who gave away his video game console when he realized that it was consuming too much of his time. I think of all of those who are consistently delivering meals to people from our church or our community who are sick or who are hurting. I think of the people in our church who give away thousands and thousands of dollars, not only to support Lakeview Church, but countless other charities that are doing incredibly important work for the kingdom. These are all acts of defiance.